We have breaking news just handed me on the high-speed news wire. Are you sitting down?
Yes.
Carson Wentz is signing with the Rams.
How about that?
Carson Wentz is signing with the Rams.
We literally just talked about him last hour.
And how the Giants wouldn't sign him because wouldn't you rather pick top 5?
Yes.
Brian Baldinger is the world's most interesting former offensive lineman. He is also a Philly guy, if you will, my colleague at NFL Network, and he joins us now on the Rich Eisen Show. Baldy, Carson Wentz to the Rams.
There's so many ironies that hit me. 2016, the Rams trade up, get the number 1 pick. They take Goff over Carson Wentz. Eagles trade up twice to get to the number 2 pick. There was a lot of close to the vest conversations. Who was going 1, Wentz or Goff? Goff. And Carson Wentz is going to see Jared Goff this week as the Lions come to Los Angeles. Carson Wentz got hurt in 2017 on his way to an MVP season at the Coliseum against the Rams. And I'm sure Sean McVay is saying, well, we brought Baker Mayfield in last year. He was a first-round pick. He won a game for us. Like, maybe I can reconstitute Carson Wentz to 2017 form. Maybe he's not all the way broken. Maybe there's something of a reclamation project here.
I just have to catch my breath.
So you're legit stunned. I love it.
Let me step back for a second. So Matthew Stafford didn't play this past Sunday. The Rams were awful. There's no other way to say it. Offensively with Brett Rippon. They were just bad. Right. They just needed 1 or 2 plays in Green Bay. They didn't get them, and they lost. The sentiment from Sean McVay yesterday on the podium and then on his coach's show, which he does every Monday night with the voice of the Rams, good friend J.B. Long and good friend DeMarco Farr, was very positive. Rams are in a bye this week. Very positive that Matthew could come back next week after the bye. Now, nothing's set in stone, but that, yeah, kind of feel good about it. This leads me to ask, has there been a setback? Have they reevaluated Matthew's thumb and went, nah, maybe he needs surgery now? Did something happen? Because if you think Stafford's going to be okay, you don't necessarily need Carson Wentz. Or maybe you say, to heck with it. We think we could put together a wild card run here, and we're not comfortable now that we've seen Brett Rippon in Green Bay. We need a legitimate backup. I don't know.
Well, I think you need a legitimate backup. You know, we saw backups last week, Cleat and Toon. I mean, we saw support performances around the league from backup quarterbacks. But, you know, the New York Giants, like, what are they – like, he's got to be better than Tommy DeVito. You know, I mean, just look at the backups that are playing. But I just believe philosophically, Andrew, in collecting quarterbacks. Like sometimes, look, when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts, nobody knew how it was going to rankle Carson Wentz the way it did. And things went south in a hurry. But things didn't work out in Indianapolis, Washington for it either. But it's not like he's not a talented player. I've had general managers that drafted him in the personnel department of Philadelphia saying that he was a human cyborg. Like, physically, you just don't see people like that. I think fundamentally he's very poor and needs a lot of work. But I don't see any harm in bringing him in. Matt Stafford's not going to be threatened by Carson Wentz. He just not at this stage in his career. But why not just take a look and see what's there? And, you know, maybe he can't digest a playbook or he can't play with proper fundamentals. And you've got nothing to lose at this point.
It's fascinating. Our friend Tom Pelissero, you were just on with him on NFL Network, says that, yeah, like what I said, Stafford, they're still hoping is back next week, and that this is Carson Wentz as the backup behind Matthew Stafford. As you said, Baldy, collect quarterbacks, hopefully make a run for the postseason here. It was a heartbreaking loss to the Steelers a couple of weeks ago when Kenny Pickett only needed 9 yards for a first down. Clearly didn't get it. And then this past Sunday when they lost in Green Bay where they had no offense, bad weather game, the whole thing was just bad. Well, Carson Wentz now, the number 2. Baldy, also, speaking of bad, not to pile on, but you heard Troy Aikman in the fourth quarter, really the first quarter as well, how just unwatchable the Jets were last night. But he made the point, Troy did, Baldy, at the end of the game, that even if Aaron Rodgers miraculously came back in December, this isn't a good team. He said it's a bad team with a good defense. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I mean, look, they can't put an offensive line together, Andrew. Last night, Zach Wilson dropped back 57 times. We sacked 8 of them, lost a couple fumbles. I mean, it was just ugly. We see that around the league, though. Good defenses just, sacking bad offenses, and it becomes unwatchable. I saw Baltimore do it to Seattle last week. I saw Cleveland do it to Arizona this week. I mean, we've all watched these games. The Giants just unwatchable if Aaron Rodgers was in that lineup last night, I'm sure they would have played better. But if Joey Bosa is beating your right tackle the way he was beating the right tackle last night, Aaron Rodgers isn't going away from anybody, whether he comes back from this injury or not. He's not getting away from the rush that was sieging or sacking, Zach Wilson last night. They got to get a lot better up front, and I don't know that they have the people to do it, Andrew. They just can't keep anybody healthy. It was a bizarre switch of taking Max Mitchell, the right tackle, and put him at right guard. Never played there before. Joe Tippmann made his first start at center. You got your right Billy Turner in there at right tackle who struggled. I mean, they can't get 5 healthy offensive linemen on that group right now. And so, yeah, you'd love to run Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook in some combination, but it's hard to run it when it's 3rd and 7.
Baldy, how demoralizing is it to a locker room when your defense holds the other quarterback, and not just any quarterback, Justin Herbert, to 136 yards? You hold them under 200 total yards of offense, and you lose. But not only do you lose, the game's not close.
Yeah, it's demoralizing. And I know guys in that defense, pretty good. And look, they're 4-4, so they're not out of it. They can make a run. But a lot of those guys, say Quinn Williams, all he's done as a Jet, even though he got a $100 million contract, all he's done is lose. In New York, that's all he's experienced. And so they lose their final 6 games last year. They lose a game at home. It's just horrible. You don't have, you're just playing your best, playing your guts out. But C.J. Mosley, Quinnen Williams, some of these guys, that's all they've experienced since they've been in New York. And it is demoralizing. And you wonder if they wonder, can this thing get better? Because they go against that offensive line every day. And they understand the weaknesses and the inexperience and lack of cohesiveness. And so they've got some star players, but they can't really get the ball to them.
Talking in front of the program, our good friend here, Brian Baldinger. Want to go back to Sunday, Baldy, if we can. I mentioned Philly guy here. What we saw Sunday night is seemingly like every end of game situation for the Cowboys. The Eagles find a way to do the right things at the end of games. The Cowboys do not find a way to do the right things at the end of games. How do you teach a team how to do things at the end of the game? I know that sounds so childish the way I said it, but it's the same movie every time, I guess is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, but it never comes down to the final play or the final drive, Andrew. 4th and 1, you got to score in this league. The Eagles have found a way to score on 4th and 1. Everybody knows what the play is. It's never it's never a secret. The Cowboys are 4th and 1 at the 1, and they come away with nothing. So I agree with Mike. Go for the touchdown. They run a myriad routes down to bottom. They execute the route perfectly against man coverage. Up at the top, they don't. And so it still comes down to the details and detailing your business. It was a poor pick by Jake Ferguson to get Schoonover free. Now, you could have gone to the other side and Brandon Cooks would have walked into the end zone wide open. But, look, the quarterback's got to make a decision pre-snap where to go with the ball. He went to the up top, and they didn't execute the play properly. But they have struggled in the red zone all year, Andrew. The Eagles did too for a while, and then they figured it out, and they're playing much better. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone last week. They designed better plays than the Cowboys do in the red zone. Maybe the Cowboys should copy some of the Eagles' plays because they're really creative. They're different, but they work. And the Cowboys have, they're at 29th in the league in red zone offense right now. It's hampering the way that they go up and down the field. And to see CD have that game that they have and Ferguson have the game that they have and not be able to finish those drives is limiting right now.
So they miss Kellen Moore.
Well, either that or Zeke Elliott. Zeke was a finisher. 4th and 1, there was only one guy over the last 7 years that was going to get the ball. That was Zeke. I don't know that Pollard or anybody they have is that kind of a back right now.
Baldy, you are doing Browns-Ravens coming up Sunday on the radio, heading to Baltimore. Brockman over here, you remember Chris Brockman? Brockman over here had the, Ravens are the best team of the NFL overreaction question yesterday.
Ravens, best team in the NFL.
Baldy, are the Baltimore Ravens the best team in the NFL?
Maybe I'm going to answer that, Andrew, but maybe I'm going to make another statement that I almost believe in after watching Baltimore last week, that maybe the NFC is just a bunch of frauds.
The NFC.
And every time they go up against an elite AFC defense, they just crumble, whether it's San Francisco or Seattle or Detroit. Like they see these defenses that are just powerfully built. The Ravens lead the league in sacks, giving up the fewest points. They've got 4 of their 9 games this year, Andrew. They haven't given up a touchdown. They make Seattle look like they're a bottom feeder in this business. I don't know that Baltimore has a weakness right now. And Lamar is having a lot of fun. And they still haven't completely figured things out offensively. They still are not hitting deep balls like the way you'd like to hit, that you got to do in big games. But other than that, it's hard to find a weakness on that football team right now.
When you say the NFC, they're all a bunch of frauds, do you mean the Eagles as well, or do you mean beyond the Eagles?
Well, look, the Eagles lost to the Jets. They turned it over 4 times against an elite defense.
Good point.
So they'll see Kansas City a week from Monday night here, Andrew, and we'll get a better test. I know the Eagles felt like as soon as they walked off that field in Arizona last year that they owed Kansas City one. Like it's a little late to pay back a Super Bowl, but like that's how they feel about it. But we'll find out because Kansas City is one of those elite defenses. Miami just saw it this weekend. They're as good as anybody because they can play every style of defense you want, and they've got a proven coordinator that knows how to win big games. So that'll be a great test for Philadelphia, and we'll find out a little bit more about that fraud statement.
Look at the Bengals, 4-0 against the NFC West. They beat the Niners in Santa Clara. They beat the Seahawks in Cincinnati when the Seahawks were absolutely worthless in the red zone. All they needed was to punch it in once at the end of the second quarter and at the fourth quarter, and they couldn't do it. As a Browns fan, Baldy, I am. It makes me even more frustrated that the Browns couldn't convert the 3rd and 3, 4th and 3, whatever it was in Seattle, because they had that game won. They couldn't tackle in the first quarter, couldn't tackle in the fourth quarter, but with P.J. Walker should have stolen one there in Seattle. Alas, they did not. But
they put the Seahawks offense to sleep for the better part of 3 quarters in that game.
Totally.
Outside the first 2 scores, they just shut him down. They couldn't do anything.
And Geno's, look, I love Geno, but 5 straight games with multiple turnovers. So obviously they got to find something here. Baldy, I joked before. I always joke this. You joke about this. You know this. I always introduce you by saying you're the world's most interesting offensive lineman, and I tell people, obviously check out your Instagram. You're like the world traveler, the international traveler. I like to do it a little bit as well, and I've made the joke that if I say to you, "Hey, Baldy, I'm going here in the off season," that there's no place that I can name that you haven't been. And not only have you been there, everybody there. You're telling me where to go and where to eat and who to ask for and what to do. So where should I go this offseason, Baldy?
Well, I was just going to say, if we were in Frankfurt right now getting ready for this big matchup between Indy and New England, I would take you to the Steiner House.
Okay.
The hot stone, right? Where they give you a hot stone and you cook your meat or your fish or your shrimp on the stone. Like you're the chef, and then they have all the trimmings and all the big steins and all that kind of stuff. But that's where I would have every meal in Frankfurt.
Okay,
right there.
Rich is in Berlin today. He took a side trip during the week. Where should Rich go in Berlin tonight? We'll send this along. Any idea?
Vandenberg's Gate. You got to go see the gate.
Yeah, he did that already. Like you got a restaurant, a bar, an underground Stadium East German disco.
The disco era never ended in Berlin. It's the only city in the world. I'm curious about this. I think they built a new airport in Berlin. But the last time I was there, I was flying to Majorca out of Berlin. And I remember, this is not that long ago, Andrew, but it's a big German destination, Majorca.
Yes.
Okay, they love to go to Palma. But
they also love Ibiza.
The plane Air Berlin still had a smoking section and the smoking section was on the other side of the aisle that was non-smoking. So one side of the aisle was smoking, the other side of the aisle was non-smoking. Figure that one out.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I've been to the old Berlin airport, which doesn't feel much bigger than this room.
Yes.
Right, tiny. I went to Mallorca a couple of years ago. I flew through Barcelona, which is a fantastic airport. It's like a 19-minute flight. Literally, like you're up and down in 19 minutes. Something absurd. Like, Baldy, I'm convinced that if I told you I was going to the dark side of the moon this summer, you would know a bar.
Yeah. Yeah, we find a place there. There's something going on out there on the dark side that is always dark at some point during the day. And that's when it's open.
Baldy, we love you. We appreciate you juggling your schedule today. And
all right. My pleasure, buddy.
I miss you. Hopefully see you soon somewhere on the road.
Okay, bud. Yep. Talk to you, Andrew. See you
Brian Baldinger, everybody, the world's most interesting former offensive
absolute legend
lineman.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.